The casserole was still radiating heat through my oven mitts as I walked up the path to my parents' home. The Sunday dinner was an unbreakable custom that stretched back as far as my memory went. Despite living a 40-minute drive away and enduring grueling 60-hour work weeks, I made sure never to be absent. The comforting aroma of my mother's garlic bread drifted from the screen door, mingling with the indistinct chatter from within. My knuckles were inches from the door when my own name stopped me. Mark won't be a problem. He never refuses family. It was my father, his voice clear from the kitchen. I froze, my hand hovering in midair. But 300,000? That's an outrageous sum. My mother's voice sounded tight, laced with a kind of anxiety I hadn't heard from her before. The how of it doesn't matter, snapped my older sister, Jessica. Her tone was sharp and defensive. What matters is getting it taken care of before the legal action begins. You promised you would help me. We will, my father affirmed. Your brother got that big promotion, don't you remember? He's a senior financial analyst at that major firm downtown. He must be earning at least $150,000 a year now. More than that, Jessica added. He let slip something about his bonuses. A cold dread settled in my stomach, and the casserole dish suddenly felt like it was made of lead. We can tell him it's for the house, my mother suggested, and I could hear the familiar sound of her rationalizing something she knew was wrong. We'll say the roof needs urgent repairs, or maybe the foundation. We can start with 30,000, then maybe I'll need money for medical procedures. If we spread it out, he'll give it to us. He always does, my father concurred. Think about that business loan Jessica needed 5 years back. 20,000, and he didn't even blink. He never brought it up again after the business went under. That's because Mark has no concept of how the real world operates, Jessica said, and I could almost picture the smirk on her face. He still clings to the idea that family actually means something. It's almost pitiful. Don't speak about your brother like that, my mother chided, but her protest was feeble. I'm just being realistic. He's always been naive. Don't you recall when he gave you his entire signing bonus to help with the mortgage? $40,000, just hand it over. Who does that? A good son, my father replied, but the way he said it made it sound synonymous with a foolish one. Precisely, Jessica said. So, we'll handle my debt. There might even be enough left over for that vacation property you two have been dreaming of. Mark will never suspect a thing. We'll space out the requests, make each one sound like a desperate emergency. He can't say no when Mom starts to cry. I don't like deceiving him, my mother said softly. It's not deception, Jessica countered. We are a family. His money is our money. And what else is he spending it on? He has no wife, no children on my downtown apartment, the one I'd worked my tail off for, I thought with bitterness, my hands shaking. He'll be all right, my father said with an air of finality. Mark is always all right. He handles things, and we need this handled. Jessica, are you certain there's no other option? Do you want me to end up in federal prison for tax evasion and fraud? Because that's the alternative. My lawyer thinks if I can pay it off before the audit progresses, they might just settle for penalties. Tax evasion. Fraud. My accomplished sister, the one with the luxury car and the oversized house, the one my parents boasted about incessantly, was a felon. And they were conspiring to make me foot the bill. We'll get started next week, my mother resolved. After dinner tonight, I'll mention the roof. Just plant the seed. Make it convincing, Jessica instructed. Cry if you have to. Mark turns to mush whenever you cry. I backed away from the door, a slow and silent retreat, my body trembling uncontrollably. The casserole dish tilted in my sweaty palms, but I managed to secure it. I couldn't make a sound, couldn't let them know I had heard their entire scheme. I stumbled back to my car, my legs feeling like they were made of jelly. I sat there, the casserole cooling on my lap, trying to absorb the venomous truth. My family, the people for whom I would have done anything, were plotting to exploit me, to weaponize my love against me. The $40,000 signing bonus had forced me to live on instant noodles for a year to rebuild my savings. The $20,000 for Jessica's failed business had cost me a vacation I'd planned for 3 years. Each time they'd asked, I had given freely, believing I was being a good son and brother. To them, I was just a target, a gullible fool ready to be fleeced. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. *, where are you, honey? Dinner is ready *. I stared at the message, then typed my reply. *, sorry. Got pulled into work. Emergency audit. Rain check *. The 3 dots appeared almost instantly. *, oh no. But we have something important we need to discuss. Can it wait? * the roof. She was already starting, just as they'd planned. *, sorry, Mom. Boss says it's critical. Love you *. I drove home in a stupor, the lasagna on the passenger seat a cold relic of my former life, a life where I was convinced my family loved me for more than my financial statements. By the time I walked into my apartment, a new strategy was taking shape. They wanted to play a game. Fine. But they had underestimated their opponent. That evening, I sat at my computer and began to methodically move my money. Every savings account, every investment, every liquid asset was transferred into new accounts they knew nothing about. I then contacted my bank to place fraud alerts on everything, changed all my passwords, and enabled 2-factor authentication. My phone rang incessantly with calls from my mom, dad, and Jessica. I ignored them all, letting them go to voicemail. The next morning, I requested a meeting with my boss. Karen Richards was a sharp woman in her 50s who had built her career on her astute judgment of people and situations. I need some advice, I began, shutting the door. It's personal, but it could impact my work. She leaned back, her eyes studying me. Go on, I laid out the entire story, the conversation I'd overheard, the long history of financial requests, Jessica's criminal predicament. She listened intently, her expression hardening with every detail. First, she said when I had finished, you are managing this with remarkable composure. Most people would be falling apart. Second, you need legal counsel. Not to sue them, but to protect yourself from what they might do next. Third, and this is crucial, you must document every single thing. Every request for money, every past transaction, every communication. I've already begun, I told her, showing her the spreadsheet I had created. 5 years of financial bleeding, laid out in stark black and white. It totaled nearly $200,000. Karen let out a low whistle. Mark, I'm going to offer some advice that might be overstepping, but I believe you need to hear it. Your family's well-being is not your burden to bear. Their debts, their crimes, their choices, none of it is your responsibility. I know, I said, though the words didn't quite feel true yet. I'm also going to propose something else, she continued. We have an opening in our London office. It's the same position, but with better compensation, and most importantly, an entire ocean separating you from them. Are you interested? London. Thousands of miles away from the family who saw me as a walking ATM. When would I need to start? Next month. We would arrange the visa, moving expenses, the whole package. Think of it as a complete reset. That night, the calls turned desperate. 23 missed calls from my mom, 15 from my dad, and 31 from Jessica. The voicemail shifted from feigned concern to outright anger. Mark, this is absurd. Call your mother honey, please. We're so worried stop acting like a child and pick up the phone, Mark. This is serious. Jessica needs us. Family helps family star. On Tuesday, I finally answered a call from Jessica. Jesus, Mark, where have you been? Working, I replied coolly. You know, at that job you all seem to believe is a personal cash fountain. What is that supposed to mean? It means I'm busy, Jessica. What do you need? We need to talk. As a family. Can you come over for dinner tomorrow? I can't. I have other plans. Plans? What plans could possibly be more important than your family? The kind of plans that don't involve being conned out of $300,000, I said. The silence on the other end was deafening. I have no idea what you're talking about. Tax evasion and fraud, Jessica, isn't that right? And you were going to have me pay for it. You were going to get Mom and Dad to lie to me, to manipulate me. You were listening? You were eavesdropping on a private family matter. I was bringing a casserole for Sunday dinner. Remember family? That concept you said I foolishly believe in. Mark, listen to me. It's not what you think it is. It's precisely what I think. You were going to defraud your own brother. The brother who has bailed you out time and time again. I'm in serious trouble, Mark. I could end up in prison. You should have considered that before you committed multiple felonies. Are you really going to let me go to prison over money? Money you can easily afford. I couldn't afford the $40,000 I gave Mom and Dad. I couldn't afford the $20,000 I gave you. I couldn't afford any of it, but I gave it because I thought that's what family does. It seems I was mistaken about what this family is. Mark, please. I hung up the phone. The text started immediately, begging from Jessica, guilt trips from my mom, demands from my dad. I archived them all without a glance. Wednesday, my mother tried a different approach. She appeared at my office building during my lunch break, tears flowing down her face. Mark, please, just talk to me. I'm your mother. I stood in the marble lobby, watching the woman who raised me put on a dramatic performance, and I felt utterly numb. The tears that had always worked on me before now seemed staged and hollow. We can talk, I said. Right here. Can't we find somewhere private? No. Say what you need to say. She looked around at the people walking by, clearly flustered. Your sister is in a lot of trouble. I know. Tax evasion and fraud. She told me she made mistakes, but she's family. We are obligated to help her. No, you are obligated to help her. She's your daughter. Use your own money. We don't have that kind of money, you know that. Then perhaps Jessica should have thought about that before she broke federal law. How can you be so cold? This isn't the man I raised. You're right. The old Mark would have already written a check. The old Mark believed you when you said family helps family. But the old Mark didn't know his family was conspiring to fleece him, to use his love as leverage. My mother's face turned white. How did you? Does it matter? What matters is that I know exactly what you all think of me. The naive son. The family ATM. The Mark. I quoted their own words back to her. He'll never say no to family. He doesn't understand how the real world works. Mark turns to mush when you cry. Should I continue? The tears that now streamed down her face were real. We were desperate, she whimpered. No, I said, my voice hard. You were greedy. There is a difference. I left her standing there in the lobby and returned to my desk. That afternoon, I officially accepted the London position. Thursday was silent. Too silent. The absence of calls and texts made me uneasy. On Friday, I discovered why. As I was packing up my desk, a call came from building security. Mr. Winters, there's a process server here for you. My family was suing me. They were suing me for the money I had given them over the years, alleging that the funds were loans and that I was now demanding repayment, causing them severe emotional and financial distress. I stared at the legal documents and then I laughed. An actual, genuine laugh. They were trying to legally compel me to give them more money by claiming I was trying to compel them to give me money back. The absurdity of it, the sheer, pathetic desperation, was beyond anger. I called the lawyer Karen had put me in touch with. They don't have a case, she confirmed after I emailed her the documents. There are no written agreements, no documentation whatsoever. This is pure harassment. We can file a countersuit if you'd like. No, I said. I don't want a penny from them. I just want them out of my life. That weekend, I began to pack, not just for a move to London, but for an entirely new existence. One where love wasn't a transaction, where family was more than shared genetics, where my worth wasn't tied to my net worth. Jessica called one final time from a number I didn't recognize. "You're really just going to let me go to prison?" "I'm not letting you do anything, Jessica. You're going to prison because you committed crimes. They're called consequences." "I could lose everything." "I've already lost everything," I replied. "My family, my trust, my faith in the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. But you know what? It's strangely liberating. I don't have to pretend anymore that any of you cared about me as anything more than a checkbook." "That's not true," she pleaded. "You literally sat in Mom's kitchen and mapped out how to manipulate me. You laughed about how naive I am, how I don't understand the real world. Well, congratulations. I finally understand it now. Mark, please. I'm begging you." "Beg someone else," I said. "I'm done." I ended the call and blocked the number. The movers arrived on a Tuesday. I watched them pack my life into boxes, each one representing a step further away from the people who had used me. My phone had been quiet for days. They had finally surrendered. While doing a final walkthrough of the empty apartment, I found the old casserole dish tucked away in a cabinet, the very one I had been carrying that Sunday, filled with food I'd made with love for people who saw me as nothing more than a resource. I threw it in the trash. At the airport, waiting to board my flight to London, I received one last text from an unknown number. I was about to delete it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was from my mom. *, I'm sorry. Not for needing the help, but for how we planned to get it. You deserved better from us. I hope one day you can forgive us. I stared at the words for a long time before typing my reply. I hope one day you can deserve forgiveness. Then I powered down my phone and walked onto the plane. 6 months later, I received an update from my lawyer. Jessica had been sentenced to 18 months in federal prison. My parents had lost their house trying to cover her legal defense and had moved in with an aunt in Florida. I felt a profound emptiness, not satisfaction, not guilt, not even anger. They were just strangers now, people from a past life. My new life in London was everything my old one was not. I developed real friendships with colleagues, building relationships founded on mutual respect instead of exploitation. I was learning to trust people again, slowly and cautiously. Sometimes, on a quiet Sunday morning, I would make a casserole just for myself. It was a small act to remember the boy who used to carry his heart in a dish, hoping his family would finally see him as more than a means to an end. That boy was gone. In his place was a stronger man, one who understood that sometimes the most loving action you can take for yourself is to walk away from those who only love what you can provide. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up for you without first checking your bank balance. And sometimes, the only person who truly shows up for you is yourself. That was the real world. And I finally understood it.